My name is Peter Lim, and I'm here at the Lim Association building on Carroll Street, Chinatown in Vancouver. I was speaking to my barber about this yesterday because I knew I was going to do this interview, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be at our family building," and he said, "Oh, family building," and he didn't kind of get it because. He thinks, oh, your family owns a building, are you going to sell it, kind of thing. And no, it's not that kind of thing. And so what you have to realize is it's not family even in that nuclear sense. It's more family like in the sense of a clan or a tribe. And this is the place that our clan meets. And this is, for many, many, many years, it was kind of the hub of our community. And by tribe or clan, what we mean is there aren't that many surnames in China. And someone told me a story that you only get your family name from the emperor by a decree. And so every family has an origin story. Every family has a history. Families are related to other families in a certain way. And in that way, it's not family kind of in that, conventional Western sense. It's more like a clan or a tribe. I kind of thought of it like, the 12 tribes of Israel. It's that sense. And when you think of, the family in that sense, it kind of reflects the importance of a place like this. It's the family building, but it's family in a larger sense. So I think that's what it means. It's the center of a community. It kind of gets back to that whole idea of clan. There's a reason why it has to do with trees. It has to do with the origin story of our family. And when you think about it from that point of view, it's like a Catholic person reading the Bible and reading the Adam and Eve origin story. It has that level of significance. And when you think about it from that point of view, the tree in the character, it represents that origin story. It represents who you are, more than just a word. Oh, I've been associated with this place for a long, long time. My grandfather lived in this building for years and years, so I used to come visit in the 60s and 70s when he lived here. And later on, my dad became president of this family association for about 25 years. And so we would be here for all these celebrations and all the dinners and all that sort of thing. In the late 70s and 80s, I came to Chinese school here in the back room over there every week for a few years. So and since then, I've come for all sorts of events. So I've been in and out of this place for virtually my entire life. When the association was really going strong, our annual dinners, there'd be 600 people. And I remember around that time, my dad was president, and I remember the year my brother graduated from high school, and they started giving out the scholarships, and it was a really big deal. From a family point of view, from a community point of view, to recognize those sorts of achievements. That kind of sticks out in my mind as a singular moment. But I think more importantly, thinking about over the years, it's really interesting because it's been a stable presence that's kind of marked the progress of our family in the larger sense and the community. I think about my grandfather lived here for many years when this building was backing onto the original Chinatown. And when I was a kid, I remember Chinatown being much less developed. You know, there was an empty parking lot across the street, and there was takeout Chinese food, and by and large, you know, this is a very insular community, and then, you know, around the time my dad was president, I think you know, the community was expanding, and that was a point in time where a lot of Chinese people were moving out of Chinatown, actually, and lots of people had kids like me who, you know, who went on to, you know, university and things like that. You know, things that didn't happen, you know, a generation before, and now it's at the point where a lot of those people are getting older, and you have this organization, you know, being kind of part of people's history, you know, and you know, it's really interesting because we think about it less, but we think about it more importantly. You know, I'm playing tennis this afternoon with a friend of mine, and his grandmother grew up in the Yip Sang building, just, you know, just over there. You know, we're all really connected, and especially at my age, we think about those things. We think about, you know, where we came from, you know, what's the history, you know, and from that point of view, this place becomes really important to us. I was saying that, you know, my kids are 19 and 21 years old, and in the past they hadn't cared too much about this place, about the history, but just recently they have. My son, who's in second year university, just did a creative writing assignment, and he researched the history of this place for, you know, for that assignment. And I was talking to my daughter about it, and she said, "Well, why didn't you ever tell me about this?" And I thought that was great because they've come to the age where it matters to them. You know, they care about it. So I think, you know, I would advise younger people to care about where they come from, and, you know, to at some point learn about what their history is and how they kind of fit into the general community. It's really interesting because I teach medical students as well, and every now and then I run across someone who is a similar demographic to me, you know, born here, grew up here, and with this sort of background, and they don't know about this, and I think, you know, there's a certain point in time where you will care about this, and I think that's one of the really important reasons why it's important to have a place like this, because, you know, it's that touchstone. You know, at that point in time where you care about it, you know, what in the world can you look around in to see that represents that point in time? And there really aren't that many things. So from that point of view, I think having a place like this is just critically important. The scholarships were started in about 1980. I know because my brother got the scholarship in the first year that it was offered. And at the time, it was meant to be encouragement. It was meant to be recognition. And, you know, it was a reasonable amount of money, but I mean, I think the more important thing was what it represented. It was kind of a celebration of the success of our community. I mean, that's the way I felt about it. You know, you don't look at people and say, "Oh, you won it and I didn't." But you look at it and go, "Wow, that's amazing." You know, that's amazing because, you know, for example, I know the history of your family, and for you to achieve what you've achieved, that's amazing. So, you know, I look at the scholarship as really a wonderful recognition. One really great thing about the scholarship as well was, every year when the recipients get called up, they get called up with their mothers. And, you know, it recognizes how important mothers are. And you think for what seems like a stodgy old organization. Wow, to recognize the contribution that moms make. That's amazing. I mentioned that my grandfather lived in this building for years and years and years, and he originally came shortly after the First World War, and he traveled back to China a couple times to have kids. I don't think he went back after the Second World War. He passed away in 1976, and when we were going through his things, we found this coin. And obviously it passed away, and I'd never seen it before, and I didn't really know what it was. And I eventually kind of read up about it, and it's not really a coin, but it's an amulet, and it has all sorts of significances. It's a general good luck charm. People use these at weddings for good luck charms, that sort of thing. But it's really interesting. This particular one apparently is quite popular, and these coins have the name of the emperor who was reigning at the time of the minting of the coin. And this emperor was mythically supposed to be a water dragon. And one of the important things about this coin was it kind of represented the water dragon, and it protected you if you traveled across water. And so I don't know what my grandfather saw in this, whether it was something to do with his marriage to my grandmother, whether it was just for good fortune, I'm here in Canada, I want to be wealthy and successful, or whether it's just, I hope I make it to Canada okay. Yeah, so, I don't know what it means. It means a lot of things, maybe, but it makes me think about, all the things my grandfather must have been thinking about when he came to Canada. And more broadly, it's really interesting. I think about these things, and I think it's not really a Chinese story. It's really this is my wife okay, and am I going to become wealthy? Am I going to make it okay to my next destination? These are kind of the questions that every immigrant asks. So when I look at it more broadly, I think of this as sort of an immigrant kind of artifact that kind of represents everyone. I mean, I can interpret it for myself, but yeah, that's the way I think of it. It's really interesting, when you think about that immigrant aspect of it, because this place represents immigration from a certain period of time, and it's not the end all and be all of Chinese immigration. Even just one group. There's been Chinese immigration to Vancouver from Hong Kong, and now there's been a lot of Chinese immigration from mainland China. Different cohorts of people. China certainly changed a lot. So the people who've come changed a lot. So this place doesn't represent the end all and be all, but it represents kind of a really important time point. I think if you in the far future, when you want to connect the dots about what happened with the Chinese community, hopefully this place will be one of those points on that curve. Thinking about it, I wonder, what are going to be the other points on that curve? What's the point that this generation of immigrants is going to leave in Vancouver? And I hope they do, because the story is really, really important. I think it's really important to preserve these things because your kid might just not be ready to hear the story. And when they are, you hope that all that material is there.